Passionate about music.
World AIDS Day today, and here on Gaydar we have some special guests joining us. From 56 Dean Street, we've got Alan McOwan, and from Boyz magazine, David Bridle. Hello, welcome to Gaydar.
Hello.
Thank you for coming in today, because it's we've always made this day is a very special one for many reasons, and I'm so glad that you've come in to talk about what we were about to talk about.
Yeah, just give us a little background. First of all, Alan, just tell us a little bit about what 56 Dean Street is in London, Soho.
Okay, so it's a sexual health clinic. It's the UK's biggest sexual health clinic now. So we moved there about 3 years ago, and one of our main aims for moving was to try and reduce undiagnosed HIV. So about 1 in 20 gay men in each Soho bar have undiagnosed HIV. And so it's a really shocking statistic, and so the clinic's kind of sitting like in the middle of kind of Europe's biggest concentration of people who need a test.
Now, you ran a competition recently, which is part of the reason you're here. Just tell us a little bit about this.
Well, I guess I sit there in clinic all day. Thousands of gay men come through our doors every month, so we kind of get a pretty good idea of what gay men think about things. And so quite often they'd come in and point at something that they'd seen in Boyz magazine and say, "That's a load of rubbish, isn't it?" People aren't. But yeah, well, I wouldn't tell anybody else. But so I guess we kind of felt we wanted to give people, if you think it's a rubbish, you come up with something. So that was the whole idea of the community campaign, that we run a competition asking people to come up with an advert to encourage people to test and why it's important to test, and then we do like an X Factor sort of public vote on Facebook, and whichever advert won, we promised we would run whatever it was, and so that's what we did. Okay. And I guess we're here today to kind of talk about phase 2.
So David, how many entries did you get for the competition?
It wasn't a huge number. It was sort of under 10, but I think all of them were good. They were all very different. And I think what's interesting is that when we as judges met, in a sense, one stood out from all the others. And although in many ways the one that won, I think, was the most surprising one, nevertheless, it is the one that won.
Were there a variety of different messages in the different entries that you had, or did they all have a...
I think the main message was around testing. That was something that Alan wanted to get across because of these incredibly worrying figures. I mean, just to throw another figure in for World AIDS Day, there are 10,000 gay men around the country who currently have HIV and don't know they have HIV. And these men are responsible for something like 80% of the new infections that we're getting. So, for instance, the latest figures which came out this week for World AIDS Day show over 3,000 gay men became diagnosed this year. That's the highest number of gay men ever diagnosed with HIV. So we're talking about a serious situation
in 1 year. So.
In 2011, in the last figures for last that the HPA have got. I think the point is that there are large numbers of gay men on the gay scene who, for whatever reasons, and there are numerous reasons, aren't testing. So what Alan wanted to do was to come up with, in a sense, an exciting and innovative way of actually reaching those men. And I think by actually asking other gay men to come up with ideas was a really radical and excellent idea.
Okay, now Debbie hasn't seen the winning entry. I'm going to show it. We're filming this. I'm going to just hold that up to the camera. That is the winning entry. Are you ready to see this?
Yes,
Debbie?
I am.
Okay, there is the winning entry.
Oh my God!
Just describe what you can see there.
Right, it's a guy in a it's the chair that electric chair, and he's lifting weights. So it's obviously it's a guy that looks after him. So it's obviously a gay guy in the chair. And it says, undiagnosed HIV can be a death sentence. Diagnosed HIV doesn't have to be. People diagnosed early with HIV can expect to have a near normal life expectancy. Gosh, that's really... If you cover up the bits with the weights, that is a man in the death sentence chair.
Yeah.
And that is that's quite a shocking ad, isn't it?
I think it's what the HIV sort of industry, if you like, the people who work in the sector call hard-hitting ad. And actually there has been a lot of criticism around the fact that it has been hard-hitting. Some people took exception to it because on the whole, what we've found over the last 10-15 years of the epidemic is, in fact, most of the HIV charities choose not to go down this route.
So why did you choose to pick this one?
Well, I think we wanted to give people a choice. So we had 5 finalists, and we wanted to kind of create something that each had lots of different kind of tones to them. And I have to say, I wasn't expecting this one to win. I was quite shocked when it won. I guess appropriate with an electric shock on it, but I was quite shocked by it. But in some ways, I'm quite pleased, really. I guess because I think it would have been a bit of a disappointment if, at the end of the day, we'd ended up with an advertisement that was exactly like all the ones that are being produced already. It would have been a bit of a waste of time. So I think it's interesting that people chose this one.
And who is who designed this? Who came up with this?
A guy called Ryan Aryan. So he thought about it. I met Ryan, and I thought he was quite inspirational. Actually, he came in. He'd clearly read up on it. He'd thought about it very carefully. He said, "I know this is a shocking image, and I've chosen it for these reasons because, like all the advert stuff about cigarettes, for example, show people respond to shocking images and engage with them." And I mean, looking at Boyz magazine, it jumps out Boyz magazine.
Yes,
absolutely. You can't turn the page and not see it. So
yeah, and also I think just to be clear about this, we as judges were simply choosing the finalists. In fact, then it went to public vote. So actually this was a public vote, and I think that again is very interesting because again a lot of people in the HIV charities wouldn't touch an advert like that, and yet when if you like, average gay men were asked which one they would choose, they chose the hard-hitting one.
It is actually really shocking, and that image will stay with me, but there is hope on the last line. Isn't there? It's not. This is not. This is the end of your life. Doesn't have to be. It's.
Well, I've been HIV since 1992, and I've been on the treatment ever since then. And I must say, I've never felt so well, actually. So I think I'm a good example of somebody who's on treatment that has done well, and would always recommend it for other people. But also, I think Alan can tell you there are statistics coming through that people, even into their 60s, are actually doing better than actually normal 60-year-olds.
Yeah, because you
look after yourself. You look after yourself, don't you? Why don't people get tested?
I don't know. I wish I knew.
This is really madness to me.
I guess this is where I come across as a bit of an angry gay man, really, because you kind of think that if 80% of HIV in the UK is caught from someone who doesn't know they have HIV, and 50% of HIV is caught from someone who's just caught it themselves, if we just all tested regularly and took up the call to arms to test once a year, or more frequently if you're having a lot of unprotected sex, we could dramatically reduce the number of people catching HIV. And if we'd been here 20 years ago, there'd be people with placards demanding we all have tests really regularly.
Absolutely.
So I kind of I think it's a call to arms, really, and also getting the message across why it's so important. It's good for your health, like Ryan's advert tells you. It's good for all of us if we test regularly too.
It's World AIDS Day on Gaydar. Let's play a little tune and we'll come back and talk some more in a couple of seconds.
Passionate about music.